they're patronizing that is we believe they are nurses. Over the years, we have been hearing about negative images and name callings. Those things are usually from those people with them quacks rendering the service of nurses. If they had recognized the nurses and used the nurses to do the works of those ones, the value for nursing would have increased.
I mean, this point you've put out
Yes.
puts us into even much more chaotic situations because you are indicting the council. For you to know this, I assume that the council knows this. If you know that some private hospitals or any hospital at all employ people who are not qualified, who don't even have their certificates even verified as nurses, why do you allow them to happen? Why do they, how are they allowed to continue in that stead? You know, and secondly, just before you answer this, just add this to that. The person who is in charge of this verification, you told us, has suspended everything, both the verification and the guidelines, is still there. This council is under the Ministry of Health. Isn't it curious that the minister hasn't said anything about this? What is the development regarding that? Has the minister spoken about this? How are we sure that they are not working in cahoot? So much so that there's a grand plan not just to allow nurses in Nigeria to leave the country, because if you do, there will be, you know, less nurses, just like we have with deficits of the doctors.
Okay. To start with, you talked about the position of the council. Is the council not regulating enough? Such to the extent that what I said is going on. Well, the council can do the best it can do, but it cannot succeed without the collaborative effort of every other stakeholder.
Don't they do verification from time to time? Don't they
Yes.
go to private hospitals and check who and who are nurses there, and then also sanction them if there's any need to do? I mean, if you mention, how do they allow these things to fester?
Good.
And then
that is the
they
part.
cry out
That
to
is
the
the
public.
part now that I'm saying collaborative efforts needs to be there. If the Federal Ministry of Health, as you have mentioned, works closely with nurses, nursing stakeholders, and stamp their feet that these things must stop, I am telling you that will stop. But when it is like nurses, if you can help yourselves, help yourself. If you can't help yourself, leave it the way it is.
No, really?
Then-
That's what is happening?
That is what I believe is going on. Then something serious may not be achieved, because it will be like you are trying to help a system when everybody in the system, especially the highly placed ones, have not actually come to terms that what you are saying is a reality and this thing needs to be stopped. It is something that will interest everybody, and everybody in the Ministry of Health has to come together to say, we have to stop this. And that is the only thing holding this thing. If we should come together to say, this thing has to stop, especially from that topmost level, from the ministry. The Minister of Health can easily communicate to the President of the rightful position. And I believe with that, I mean, we'll just go into a full swoop and correct these things. You know, even if it's going to involve a gradual process of correcting it, yes, we can do that. By first of all, setting time limits, helping to train the manpower needed to replace those ones that are using, and also trying to put the nursing profession where it is supposed to be. That is something that cannot happen without the much support needed from the Ministry of Health, especially the minister and other ones. Then coming to the side of minister, maybe being an accomplice in the whole thing about stopping this, I wouldn't say what I don't know. But that has been suspected by a lot of persons. However, we are not sure. We are not sure of that.
I mean, for chaos like this in that
Yes,
ministry,
yes.
you'd expect that somebody in that magnitude. Why is it the Nursing Council and the National Assembly are the ones doing the
Good.
back and forth? How
Good.
come the minister isn't saying anything, hasn't released any statement in that regard?
That is a very curious thing that all of us are even looking into studying. I think about a few days ago, the National Administrative Council of National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives paid the minister a visit. And I believe this was one of the things they discussed. I mean, you can't alienate the minister and the Federal Minister of Health from the whole thing. All of them need to come together to make a progress out of all these things. Because, you know, when nurses are not progressing, you can't say that the health sector is progressing. So, and I would like all of them to see it that way, that anything that affects a nurse affects the entire Ministry of Health. And all of them need to put hands together to make sure they listen to nurses, do the good biddings of the nurses, and help the professional members also. Then coming back to those other points I was giving about why nurses even want to leave. I've talked about recognition. There are still other ones. If you come to maybe pay, for instance, which belongs to just hygiene factor according to Healthback, pay is a major issue. Before now, I heard you people talking about the price of rice, where someone has said it should come down to 40,000 and so on and so forth. You know, these nurses, even those ones that are employed in the private hospitals, some of them don't even receive up to minimum wage emoluments.
Which is 70,000 or 30,000, the new one.
Before the new one. We are talking of the old one. Some of them don't even receive up to that.
So that means some of them can buy a bag of rice with their
even the transportation fee to go there and come back on a monthly basis, they had to augment from other sources of income.
Wow.
It is as bad as that. When it comes to the salary of nurses, it is like when others are having special salary package that will make them not to think of going out easily, they are like dwindling that of the nurses. And that is what everybody is saying. No. Give them a fair treatment. At least let it be something that you can measure within some nearby African countries. What is the emolument of a nurse in South Africa? Is it comparable with what it is in Nigeria? That is something we need to look into. Nurses are supposed to be given a pride of place. Other countries value them so much. They know that these are the bedrocks of healthcare delivery, because the doctors will come, make prescriptions, and spend less time. These ones will stay there and do every other thing to get someone well. You cannot entrust this kind of responsibility into someone's hand and decide to be giving the person this kind of treatment. Their salaries need to be reviewed upward, seriously. And the yawning gap between their salary and that of the doctors shouldn't even be. Doctor salaries should be higher, but the nurses' salaries should be very close to that also. Because these are the two sets of healthcare professionals that stay there to do everything to help the patient out.
So, wrapping up, that would say, with the treatment and non-recognition, is one of the things that gives off this lackadaisical attitude, this nonchalant attitude with nurses and their patients. Because I've been in hospitals where, you know, there were emergencies and it was other patients that ran to call the nurse. And the nurse took 20 minutes for a woman that was about to pass out. Other patients had to help the patient. So is this part of the things that makes nurses not be interested in doing their work in the hospital?
Well, on that part now, I wouldn't like to rush into that because, first of all, I have to establish that the person is a nurse in the first place.
Okay.
Because of what I told you. Yeah. You know, with your ordinary eye, you go to hospital and see somebody putting on uniform, grandstanding as a nurse, and that is a nurse for you. For us, we go beyond that to know who is a nurse. And that is one of the confusion, one of the major confusions we have in the health sector, especially in the hospitals. I
actually wish time would permit us, because I would have loved you to rule, as in give us what makes a nurse, you know, so that with my ordinary eye, like you said, I could be able to say, okay, you're a nurse, you're not a nurse. So I don't know if you can just do that in a few seconds. Just highlight what makes a nurse.
How do you know who is a nurse? First of all, the person has to be someone that has gone through a school of nursing, a college of nursing, or a department of nursing in a university, has done the basic requirements for the person to qualify to write the professional exam set by the Nurses and Midwifery Council of Nigeria. Upon passing the professional exam, this individual will become a nurse, and the person will be licensed to practice nursing in Nigeria. This license is renewable every 3 years. Then when you see anybody misbehaving, first of all, to find out whether the person is a nurse or not, ask simple question. Where were you trained? Can I see your license? Every license has a number. And being someone licensed, if the person is found guilty of any misconduct, there is a body that will sanction the person. And that's what distinguishes between a nurse and ordinary work, rendering a service some way. So if the nurse did not do what he was supposed to do, money is not an excuse for lackadaisical attitude, as you put it. We are trained to bear, to be resilient, irrespective of the situation, because we are managing people who cannot help themselves, who are already in a very bad mood before coming to seek our services. So our training is such that we have to do everything to alleviate the suffering as much as possible and give the person comfort. So if the person did not do what we expect a trained nurse to do, ask this person a question. Where were you trained? Can I see your license? When you get the number, please, just go to Chief Nursing Officer around, give the number. If the name is there, no, you can give the name. If the name is not there, give the number alone. It will be verified in a few seconds. And if the person is a nurse, the matter will be taken off from there. A tribunal will be set up and the person will be summarily discharged from the profession if the person is found guilty of any misconduct. That's what a professional is. But you can't say that about all these other ones they recruit to do what they call nursing jobs in all these other private hospitals.
Okay, thank you so much, Nurse Dr. Chijioke Oliver Nwodo. I got it correct, or the other way, Nurse Chijioke Oliver Nwodo, PhD. Very important. He has actually educated us. If you see a person misbehaving in a nursing uniform, ask the person, where were you trained? Can I see your license? Very important. And when you have that, head straight to a chief nurse, not of the, not part of the crew, but outside of the crew. And with that, we'll take it up from there. It's been a nice one having you here. I wanted to say chief doctor. Okay, Nurse Chijioke, it was nice having you in the studio with us today. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, the time has elapsed. Oh, sorry, I would have just said one thing in the wrap-up. Okay, to wrap it up, please, what I was saying about the Northern Council of Nigeria shutting down, what the National Assembly has said recently is that they shouldn't shut down. They should go back to the old way they were doing the verification.
And the guidelines?
Yes, suspend the new guidelines.
The guidelines.
Yes, and go back to the old way they were doing the verification.
Stick to the old guidelines.
Yes, stick to the old guidelines, yes, and suspend the new one.
Okay.
So that those who want to travel can travel. Those that want to further their education abroad can do that. Okay. That's the new thing by the National Assembly, and I hope the Council will heck into that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
We do appreciate your input. Yeah. We'll go for a break. This is still Signature Morning. We have a whole lot lined up, and you don't want to miss anyone. Thank you.
Welcome back. You're watching Signature TV on Signature Television. We're live on all platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at Signature TV Official. You can click and subscribe on this channel on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us. Today we are going to be switching gears right now to politics in ENUGU. Only yesterday, there was a statement released by the gubernatorial candidates in the 2023 general elections of Labour Party in ENUGU, basically slamming the current governor on the issues of demolitions across ENUGU state. Of course, you must have seen the demolitions happening at the Weta market. You must have seen the demolition also happen in the soccer access. He released a statement condemning that and asking that the government of ENUGU states pay adequate compensation to every single individual that have in one way or the other suffered from this demolition. Even though the government of Enugu State have said severally that the demolition would only be to cater to the beauty of the states, something much more better that would be established in those places that have been demolished. But again, there are other people who have been crying foul about the fact that they haven't been compensated since the demolition happened. And so there is also a particular portion of the statement released by Chijioke Edoga yesterday, which I'm quite curious about. Let me just read it verbatim so that I wouldn't in any way mix it up. It says, Mr. Peter Mba should make a public broadcast to people of Enugu State asking for forgiveness and appeal for healing for the pains caused by his peremptory and excessive use of power of the office of the governor of Enugu State. So I'm quite curious, when you say somebody is peremptory with what they have done, I'm wondering what exactly that means. So that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. But we're headed for a short break. When we come back, we'll connect with him in Abuja. Do stay with us. Welcome back. We're connecting live to Abuja, where Chijioke Edoga is standing by. Chijioke, thank you for joining us. Good morning.
Thank you.
All right. I'm just quite curious. Straight to the point. You had mentioned that Mr. Peter Mba should make a public broadcast to the people of Enugu State, asking for forgiveness and appeal for healing for the pains caused by his peremptory and excessive use of power of the office of the governor of Enugu State. When you say the governor is peremptory, what does that mean?
Peremptory refers to, in the context of my statement, refers to hastiness, refers to a certain feeling, a certain mental disposition that you will be obeyed. Your order will be carried out. What you have done is right. In the context of my speech, it means it's ill-conceived. It was not well thought out. It was a knee-jerk reaction. That's what, so you read within the context of the speech, peremptory, not well thought out, assuming that it must be obeyed, assuming that nobody will dispute what you have done. assuming that you are right, thinking that you are right, peremptory. I'm the king, and what the law must be obeyed. Not well thought out, not well conceived.
Okay, do you think
Consultations were not
that
made.
do you think that the demolition in Enugu State is targeted at people of Nsukka?
No, it was widespread. It was targeted at humanity at large. Nothing in my speech inferred that. I mentioned Gariki. I mentioned the one opposite Obrete Market, the one that Ugambala had emphasized upon, and House of Reps had done a motion on it. So I mentioned that. I also mentioned Abakpa. But I brought out Ogige Nsukka because it's a communal market. It's a communal market. The other ones are not really markets as such. So there's a certain distinction in the demolitions that were made. I also mentioned Ogige because it was the one I saw, which was the immediate impulse for my speech. I had read about Holy Ghost, I'd seen the devastations, I'd listened to those press briefing, which had that place at the background. I'd been informed about what happened at Okonano area, the Agariki area. I'd also been informed about what happened at Abakwa. But the one that I saw visually, the one that I saw witness was what is going on at Ogi, because I drove past there and I saw the traders. Ideally, if the reallocation of stores or the movement of persons have been done well, that number of persons, traders, who hawk their wares, who still sell up to now in that place, wouldn't be going on. So that is the first indication, a visual indication, evidence that not what is being said is not actually what has happened, what it is true, with regards to proper reallocation of persons. So to answer your question, it's not only Nsukka people who are affected, it's statewide or nationwide, because even many people in the opposite that area they're not only Enugu State people, there are people from Anambra states, all over Eastern Nigeria, over Nigerians, possibly non-Nigerians.
Okay, Mr. Doga, we understand from what was explained before the demolition that those places were not earmarked initially for what is being constructed or what's been placed there before now. And that means it's like they're sort of nuisance from what was explained. Now, we also understand you were a former gubernatorial candidate for a Labour Party. Now, if you were the governor, would you leave what was going on there to continue going on, or would you stop it? How would you have done it in a different way? Would you have,
Okay.
You understand my question? If you were the governor, or if you were the governor, would you leave the wrong things that were going on to keep going on wrongly?
Okay, you prejudge when you say wrong things going on. You have to determine first whether there's a wrong thing going on. You also have to determine whether, if you have slept, for instance, if you have allowed a thing to go on forever, whether you have the moral or even